I've heard it said that fear is faith in something that you don't want. And I think it's such a brilliant thing to think of. So cool to think about it that way. Hello, and welcome to Irresistible You Ignite Your Passion and Purpose. I'm Karen Seltz. Happy New Year, wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for tuning in. I've been thinking a lot about what drives us, what has us make the decisions that we make. And this is the time of year when most people are setting new goals and looking at what they want their next year to look like. So I want to set you up with some exercises, some questions to really help you find out what it is that you want and what is holding you back from that thing. And I know a lot of people that I talk to, you ask them, what do you really want? Many of them don't know, or they're afraid to say it out loud. And I think for some people, it's because they fear, like, if I say this and then I don't make it, then I look like a failure, or I feel like a failure, or worse, right? I feel worthless. I feel like I don't deserve good things. So there's a lot of places it can go inside the hamster wheel inside of our head. So, but if you ask most people, what is it that you're afraid of, or what don't you want? What do you have in your life right now that you wish weren't there, or you wish you weren't experiencing? Most people could give you a laundry list. And I'd love to tell you why. So our brains are designed, number one, for survival, right? The main job of the subconscious mind is to keep you alive. Once it knows, like, oh, I'm pretty sure I'm going to survive this, I'm positive, not pretty sure, I'm positive I'm surviving, then it can work on things like thriving, things like passion and bliss and purpose, things like that. But until your mind knows for sure that you are surviving, no matter what, like barring unforeseen circumstances, you will survive. Then it will be spending resources to make sure that you survive. And when it does that, that puts you in a fight, flight, or hide response, and you don't have access to what's called the prefrontal cortex, the conscious mind, what differentiates humans from animals. And you're operating at the level of a 4-year-old or a goat. So I tell people, like, your subconscious mind is responsible for 95% of everything that you think, feel, believe, and do. Yet it is literally as smart as a goat or a 4-year-old. And it does not speak the same language as your conscious mind. So trying to reason with it, trying to use logic, it's like trying to use logic with a 2-year-old. It just doesn't work, right? It doesn't respond to that. It doesn't understand it, or he or she, if you're talking about a child, right? So how do you use all this to move you forward? Because knowing it isn't enough. Like, if you had $1 for everything you knew but didn't know how to implement, or didn't implement, period, you'd be a multimillionaire, I am sure, if you're anything like me. So let's dig into it. So let's start with this. What is something that last year, if you remember back, or maybe you have a notebook, maybe you took some notes or wrote out some goals for the year, what's something you said that you wanted last year, in the beginning of 2024? And then, did you actually achieve that goal? And if not, what was the obstacle? What got in the way of that? And if you look at it, what is bound to come up is logic and reasons or excuses, like, oh, I changed my mind, or my mom got sick, my kid did this. Like, usually it's some type of external circumstances that we will give our power to. So a true goal is this is happening no matter what. I am committed, beyond committed, that no matter what needs to happen, if I need to cut off my leg and sell it, this is happening. So that's a difference. And there's a big difference, and there's a way to get deeper into the levels. So some people say, well, oh, I want a Mercedes this year. And I would say to them, awesome. Why do you want that? What do you think it would give you that you don't already have? And we'd start getting deeper. And what would that give you? And what would having that give you? Because underneath all of it, there's a feeling, there's a state of being that somebody wants to experience. So maybe they want to feel luxury, or they want to be admired. They want to feel like they finally made it. There's something underneath that. So digging until you get like the why that makes you cry, we call it, like, why do you want that? And why is that important to you? And you keep digging until you get to this feeling state. And then really, what is preventing you from feeling that right now? Because there's nothing, honestly, there is nothing preventing you from feeling that right now except your subconscious mind. So kind of getting that clear and then figuring out, okay, how can I create this for myself right now? Like, do I have to have a Mercedes to feel like I've accomplished something, or like I matter, or like I'm living a luxurious life? Because it could look all kinds of ways. And then find ways to give yourself that right now. And when you find it, then do more of those things, because what you focus on will expand. It always does. It is law. So our minds are built to filter, delete, and distort anything that doesn't match the story that we have going on inside of our head. So if your story is, I'm abundant, I'm worthy, I'm lovable, then your mind is constantly searching the environment for evidence that that is true. And guess what? It will always find evidence for what you want to believe is true, or you might not want to believe it's true, but you do believe it's true. So I'll give you an example. Back, I don't know, many years ago, I used to have a lot of issues in romantic relationships. And I had this underlying belief that I wasn't worthy and that there was something wrong with me, and that this guy, whoever I was in a relationship with, would find out and would leave. So I was testing him. I'm like, well, will you leave me if I do this? And I would do like stupid things just to test. And my mind was always looking for evidence of why he was going to leave, or why he didn't love me, or why I wasn't lovable. And it always found it. And I sabotaged every relationship until I got better, right? Until I cleaned up the unconscious mind, the subconscious stuff, those patterns, those beliefs that kept me stuck in that same loop, like the hamster wheel, right? I kept doing the same things. So do you have areas like that where you keep doing the same things and creating the same results, and then saying, why do I keep doing this? What is wrong with me? Or I don't know what your story is, but that was mine. I thought there was something really wrong with me. And it's just stuck data in the subconscious mind that can be easily removed. So really look at those. Like, what are the things that you said you wanted at the beginning of 2024? What got in the way? And what are the things what are the states of beings? What are the feeling that you thought it would give you if you got those things? So really look at that and how you can give them to yourself now, because now is the only time that we have, really. So talking about fear, what are the things that you really want to do, but if you do them, you're afraid this will happen? So let's give an example. Let's say that you want to be a teacher and you want to start coaching or something, and you know that it's important to have an online presence. So you've heard this thing, like people do Facebook Lives, and you're like, I could never do that, because what is the fear that comes up, right? People will reject you. People will say bad things about you. You only have one chance to make a first impression. You're going to lose all your followers that you have. Like, whatever the stories are, those are the things that also contain your hidden desires. Whatever those fears really are, I'm afraid I'm going to be abandoned. Well, if that's the underlying fear that's preventing you from doing the thing that's going to get you where you want to go, really look at the opposite. So the opposite of being abandoned is what? It could be something different for each of you, but it could be connection. It could be having an impact. It could be creating a community. As I'm talking about business, not personal, right? So what do you really want then? If you don't want to be abandoned, or you don't want to be rejected, you want to be admired, respected, maybe build a community of raving, loyal fans, maybe serve people to get out of their own way and live their highest life, their best life, whatever it is. So you can find things in there like that. So if you're afraid of being salesy, maybe you really want to create abundance for yourself and your family, because a lot of people have that thing, like, oh, I don't want to sell because I don't want to be sleazy. I don't want to be salesy. Well, what is it that you want? The desire is right on the other side of that coin. So if you can look at that and really you can logic your way through it to a certain degree, but it's not going to get you very far. So you also get to look at what has been holding you back. Who says it's bad to be salesy? Who says it's bad to be sleazy? Whatever. Like, who says? Who says? And you can look at it that way. But the way that the really big changes get made in the subconscious mind are through subconscious mind work. And the subconscious mind responds to symbols, metaphors, stories. It also does really well if you can create an avatar. So let me tell you about that. This is really fun. So I did this with my daughter today. I have a teenage daughter who has many fears and anxieties. And anxiety for her shows up as like sweaty palms, like her heart is racing. She's breathing really heavily. And it can come on just like that. And one of her things is heights. She's afraid of taking the stairs at school, and she's in high school. So we did some work today, and I had her create an avatar. So I helped her. I'm like, so this is a girl. She's taller than you. She's this tall. She's 5'6". She has dark brown hair, and she is completely unfazed by taking the stairs. So now, do you see her? Do you see her face? I made sure she could see her face. Okay, now watch her take the stairs. Is she at the top of the stairs or the bottom of the stairs? So she picked one. She's at the top. Okay, watch her go down the stairs. Okay, now watch her go up the stairs. And we did that a few times because the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference. Like if you watch someone do something you want to do, your subconscious mind can take something very specific like that and it can generalize it to cover you. So this is a really cool trick that you can use to fast forward yourself in any skill that you think you lack or you want to master. So we did this a few times, and then there's certain processes where I have her then watch through the girl's eyes going up the stairs, and then to like get into her body and feel what she's feeling as she goes up the stairs. And then the last step is to see herself going up the stairs and down the stairs and up the stairs. And we did that several times because the first few times she was a little bit nervous still, until she's like, oh, I got this. It's just like unlocking my phone or, whatever she does on a normal basis, singing karaoke. So things that don't faze her. So by creating an avatar, this is a really beautiful and simple way that people who have anxieties or phobias can move past them pretty quickly. So once you see someone else doing it, the thing that you want to do, and then you can move. There's a process to it. I mean, I'm happy to take you through it, but there's a process to it, but it's pretty simple. And the subconscious mind gets it. It gets that, oh, there's nothing to be afraid of. The other thing it gets is that if you've been avoiding something, like really going out of your way to avoid something for a really long time, that thing must be really, really dangerous and probably fatal. It'll probably kill you, or else why would you go out of your way to avoid it? So for me, for a long time, I was deathly afraid of cold calls in sales on the phone because I thought they would kill me. And I know it doesn't make any sense, but 4-year-olds often don't make sense. Goats rarely make sense. So that makes sense when you look at it, because 95%, again, of everything that we're experiencing or thinking or feeling is directed by the subconscious mind. So create an avatar to do something, see that avatar doing the thing, and then put yourself in that position and practice it in your mind, mental rehearsal, do it over and over until it's really easy. And then you can actually go do the thing. And let me know how it goes, because it was pretty fast for my daughter. Like her mind got it like that. So I would love to know how it goes for you. Now, of course, she had me facilitating. But just do your best. It's not going to hurt. It's not going to be any worse. So things like that work really well for the unconscious mind. Stories. If you can find a story of somebody who has created something that you want, and it doesn't have to be identical. Be very, very specific. When you're dealing with your subconscious mind, you cannot generalize. It doesn't understand generalizations. Like, I want to feel happy. Like, what does that mean? I want to feel bliss. I want to feel abundance. Tell that to a 4-year-old and see how far you get. They don't get it. But if you say, I want to run barefoot in the sun, and feel the grass under my feet, and I want to hear birds singing, and I want my favorite doll, Lucy, and then I want my best friend, Sally, there. Like, be very, very specific. Obviously, you're not going to have a child's story. Well, maybe, who knows? But be very, very specific. So, for example, when I'm doing our RT sessions with people, rapid resolution therapy, we go back to very specific events that have happened before, that are over with, right? And then we clear them. And then the mind, the subconscious mind, generalizes what else was like that in their lives. And it can clear all the other events, even if there are hundreds, from doing one specific event. So people are, when people first come to me, they're like, man, we're going to need a lot of sessions. I'm like, I don't think so. It doesn't take a lot. Once you're very specific and you give the subconscious mind very specific instructions, it knows what to do. It knows how to generalize. Oh, what else is like that? This one, this one, this one, this one. Oh, that time when you were 6. And, it goes through the Rolodex and it just clears all of them because it gets that none of them are happening any longer. So it's very cool. But none of us is given a manual like this is how to deal with your subconscious mind. And it's kind of a shame because if we knew that, we would not waste so much time suffering or spinning our wheels, trying to do things and failing, and then beating ourselves up for failing, because it's usually stuck data, stuck meanings, which my belief is that the meaning that we associate or that we give to things, certain events about ourselves, about other people, about the world, that is what causes suffering. It's those meanings. What did you make it mean about yourself? What did you make it mean about your parents, about your ex-husband, about your coworkers, about your career, about your mental aptitude, your ability to sing, like whatever. So I will go on a soapbox on that one for a really long time. But that meaning is often distorted. It's looked at and created through a lens, usually of a young mind that hasn't developed a conscious mind yet. And even if it is later and you have developed a conscious mind, you're still filtering through all that stuff that happened when you were 0 to 7 years old. And that is what creates a lot of the gunk, all the stucknesses that get us caught in these loops. Like, why do I keep doing the same thing? Why do I keep attracting the same kind of man? How come I can't ask my boss for a raise? Why can't I speak up for myself? Like all those things, it's all stuck data. What the hell do I keep talking about stuck data for? So when you experience a difficult or traumatic event, it's kind of like you take your hand and you press it into the sand on a beach and you pull it out and you can see the handprint. When you experience something difficult or traumatic, it imprints in your brain and there's a permanent record of it. And it's like it gets stored in high definition. So if something difficult happened, you can probably remember every single detail, like down to like really minute things, like what it smelled like, what time of year it was, what time of day it was, what you were wearing, what other people were wearing, what was said, like all the little details. Even if you were young, there's usually a picture, like a snapshot of the event in your mind. Now, your mind, when it's filtering through data to make sure that you're safe, remember the number one directive is your survival. So it gets to make sure you're safe. It's looking for similarities. Does anything out here remind me of this? And if you have tons of those, it's scanning millions of bits of information and it's bound to find a match to one of those events, one of those snapshots in your mind. The moment it finds one, you go into fight, flight, or freeze, a stress response, an autonomic nervous system that gets turned on. Now, it gets turned on by fear or anger. And fear and anger are both an emotional and physiological response to a perceived threat. what's the key word there? Perceived threat, right? It doesn't have to be real. So if we remember something that happened in the past, the subconscious mind, remember, smart as a goat, smart as a 4-year-old, it doesn't know about past tense. If it remembers something, it thinks it's happening now. Its number one job is to make sure you stay alive. So on all those, alert warnings. So what happens if you're angry? Your jaw gets strong, so you can bite someone really hard. Super helpful, right? For most of us adults, not so much. Or if you're afraid, your legs get strong. In both cases, your arms get strong too, right? So you can punch someone, you can run really fast, or you freeze, right? You want to hide, you get small. In almost no cases that I can think of is that useful for human beings. Almost never. I mean, sometimes it'd be good to be able to run, but it's only good for running short distances. And you lose access to this, your creativity, your logic, your passion, your reason, and your body doesn't digest food. It doesn't go into maintenance and repair anymore. The problem with humans and their brains is once that switch is on, we don't usually do anything. We don't usually bite anyone or run away or punch anyone. So it stays on. And it creates adrenal fatigue and all these different chemical problems and breakdown and dis-ease and inflammation in the body. So then your mind has more things that get stuck there. And by stuck data, it's like all those prints, all those pictures of events. Now, what's possible is through RRT is getting the good news to the unconscious mind that that stuff is all over. There's nothing for it to do. Because the only purpose for a disturbing emotion is for you to take action. Your mind wants you to take an action to not get hurt or to not get dead right now. It doesn't matter when the event took place. So if you remember something that happened 30 years ago and you feel anger or disgust or even a thought like that shouldn't have happened, your unconscious mind, your subconscious mind will say, okay, let's make it not happen. And it produces whatever, all this chemistry to get you to change it, to fix it for you, to have that thing not happen. And it's impossible, right? You can't change anything that happened in the past. You just can't. So all of those resources that could be used for creativity, for laughing, for humor, for passion, whatever it is, are all spent trying to fix a threat that isn't there. In animals, this works perfectly. Like, a zebra outruns a lion. No, it outruns the slowest zebra. I know. Then a couple minutes later, you go up to that zebra like, man, you ran fast away from that lion. It'll be like, what lion? Like, it's gone. It's not there anymore. It's no longer a threat. His body resets. His sympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest one, turns on, and he's eating grass again 5 minutes later. Ours doesn't work that way. We get all these stuck bits of data. And so if I do sessions with people, when I do sessions with people, it's my job to just move that data into long-term storage so they don't trip on it anymore. And they have access to all their energy, all of it. Imagine what you could do with all your energy. How fun. So again, what I'm talking about, what I talked about in the beginning of the episode is conscious. You can only do so much there. If you find that you're beating yourself up, like you keep trying all the latest tactics, yes, I'm doing these things and they're not working, go see somebody, because it can be a very quick fix. It with rapid resolution therapy, not regular therapy. I'm not going to say anything bad about it, but I'm also not going to recommend it unless you want to stay there. You want to know why? I'll tell you. If you go to any therapist and you say, hey, I'm thinking about hiring you. What is your intention for me after each session? Like from the beginning of the session to the end of the session, what's your intention? What do you want to see change for me or improve? They would look at you like you're insane. Go to an RRT practitioner and they'll say, I want your mind to be updated, rebooted, refreshed. I want you to be thinking only thoughts that have value about things that are possible to do and good to have done. So possible to do means you can't do anything about anything that's ever happened. So thinking things shouldn't have happened or wishing or hoping, it just signals this part of the mind, the subconscious mind, hey, let's make it not happen. And there you go in that cycle again. So we update your mind to know that that stuff's over. There's nothing for you to do. So you can just enjoy life. So my intention is always moving people forward. And it gets very, very specific. So attaching value to things that would be good to have done. You know, those things that aren't so fun to do, they might scare you, that you need to do in your business or your personal life or whatever, like cleaning your closet, whatever it is. Attaching value to doing it and even pleasure to doing it. Because for me, things like that might not have had much pleasure associated, but your mind's able to think ahead, like, how's this going to feel afterward? I'm going to feel so good afterward. And then you actually enjoy the process. And then you feel satisfied in having done it. So that creates motivation, which is a whole new, topic. We get to go on another rant on that one. I want to do I can't remember his name, the Seinfeld character, Kramer. I wanted to do that thing. So I will always have an intention for every single session. And as people talk, I start seeing them where I want them to be. And then I share it and say, hey, how would this be? And they're like, yeah, I would love that. And then we create it. That's what we do. So have an intention for everything you do and figure out how committed you are. What are you willing to give up? Because one thing for sure you're going to give up, if you do this on your own, like using your conscious mind, you're going to give up comfort for sure. If you're doing anything outside of your comfort zone, right? And you're going to get to talk to your subconscious mind, say, hey, it's all right. We're safe. And one thing that helps with that is if you can remind it of things you've done where you've gotten uncomfortable, you've stretched outside your comfort zone and you've survived it. Remind it of that and say, this is not that different. This is similar, right? This is similar to this. So we're going to survive. I promise you, no stranger on the internet's comments are going to kill us. I promise. So that is what I have to say. If you are curious about rapid resolution therapy, please, I'll put a link in the comments. Book a session with me and we'll chat and I'll let you know what's possible for you. Thank you so much for watching Irresistible You, Unite Your Passion and Purpose. I'm Karen Seltz. I'll see you next week.